Yeah, my name's Xavier Gordon. I'm 25. And yeah,
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Toronto and Calgary.
So then what did your childhood look like?
It was all right. We didn't always have a lot of money, but we were able to do Christmas every year and stuff like that. Yeah, I grew up with my grandparents too, so they had a lot of more money, and they were able to like provide nicer things and do and whatever that my mom couldn't really provide. I lived with my grandparents though for 7 years, and then when my mom was going back to Toronto, I went back with her and all my brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings, but I grew up with 4 siblings, not including me, and in the house and stuff. So high school, I was with my mom and all my brothers and sisters.
That was in Toronto or high school?
Yeah, that was in Toronto.
So, what was Calgary like? Even just back before you moved to Toronto, what was your upbringing like? What were some of the things you enjoyed doing?
I enjoyed doing a lot of outdoor stuff in Calgary. I was a Boy Scout. How the Scouts Canada thing, like Cubs. I was a Cub, a Boy Scout, and also an Army Cadet. And we would do a lot of things outside. We go camping in the winter, camping in the summer when it's raining. All types of different stuff. And also the church I was at out there in the Mormon church, they would do stuff outside too. Sometimes they go camping. So that's what I loved about Alberta was like the mountains, and just like being outside. Yeah.
Cool. So you moved to Toronto for high school. How were your high school years? What was that like?
They were pretty good. I had lots of friends. I was pretty popular. Everybody thought I was really funny. Yeah, I had like 1 or 2 groups of friends. And yeah, it was cool. We went on a lot of trips. I went to New York with my school, and I went to Europe with my school, Italy and Greece. And yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
So you were a jokester. Like, can you like give an example of like the type of comedy that you'd be throwing out there?
Type of comedy, just like jokes about different stuff. And I remember one time, I don't know if I should say it, but there's this kid, a Spanish kid in our class, and he didn't know. He heard the word punani somewhere, and he didn't know what it meant. And I told him it was a fruit and stuff. And like he talked to the teacher, and he's just like, He's like, have you ever tried the fruit punani?
So that was kind of a funny thing at his expense.
Yeah, it was funny. Everybody laughs because it was, he wasn't like a particularly innocent kid or anything like that.
Right.
It was not like people did that to him all the time. Like, that's why it was so funny, because he was like a normal guy. Like, but it's just, yeah, it was funny. He's like, is it good? Like, like.
Oh my gosh.
It was so funny. But yeah, that's like the type of stuff you do when you're like 15, 16.
Totally get it. So you spent your high school years in Toronto. At what point did you move to Niagara?
That was basically, this is just recently, like past couple months I've been here. I'd say I moved down here like in January of this year.
Okay.
I liked the city. I liked that it was a little smaller. It was like, and everything, and I like the way the downtown looks. It looks like a European city. So I thought this is a nice place to settle. But there's like a lot of drugs here and stuff. people from Toronto come out here sometimes to sell drugs. Like this guy tried to get me to, actually it was like literally just down the street from where we are now. This guy like, he's like, yo, what are you doing here? Be honest. And I'm just like, I don't know, I just live here. And he's just like, yo, if I gave you a half ball of meth, would you sell it for me? And I'm like, what? No. You know, like I'm not gonna be one of your runners or whatever it's called. Yeah, like, so that's like you kind of see like certain problems here that you don't necessarily see in Toronto as much.
So you would say in Toronto you don't see drugs, or it's like
No, in Toronto you see drugs too, but it's just
like how are the problems different here?
it's just like I'd say because like St. Catharines is a smaller city, you can kind of see it more than Toronto, which is a bigger city, which is like you don't see it as much.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Okay. You were sharing with me before about living with your grandparents.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was okay. They were a little controlling though. But you know, it's a cop and a lawyer. They were pretty. Yeah, I don't know. Like it was pretty nice growing up with them. I knew that they really cared about me and really loved me, and they really, really wanted me to do well. They put so much time into doing stuff. Like my grandpa would sit with me every night and we'd practice our multiplication, like times tables. They helped me with my homework and stuff, and they knew I struggled in math, so they helped me in math. And even got me a tutor. Yeah, I don't know. They're pretty nice. I don't have too many bad things to say about them, actually.
Can you tell me about just the experience of just your experience with homelessness and how that came about and how you kind of navigated that?
Yeah, homelessness, like, I was homeless for, I don't know, maybe, I'll just say a year. I wasn't really outside for a year, but I went to different shelters, and I maybe only slept outside like 4 or 5 nights out of all of that. But yeah, like, I used to live in my grandpa's building and my grandpa's apartment, but he passed away. So it was a housing, like Toronto housing apartment. So once he passed away, I had to move. I didn't tell anybody, so I stayed there for a little longer. And but eventually, some people found out, and they changed the locks on me, and yeah, that's what I had. At first, I went to like a friend of a friend's house, and then I got into like a shelter. Because when you call the shelter, like you call the helpline, when you call them, they look for a shelter for you, and if there's none available, they'll say call back. And so they finally found a shelter and went there, went to a transitional housing program from there. I was pretty, I don't know, I had like now I know I had psychosis, but I didn't know back then, so like things were kind of difficult for me. I thought people were after me, and not after me, but I thought people were like, I thought people were talking to me, but they weren't there. And I thought I could telecommunicate with them or something. So some of the relationships were like with these, like, I guess you call them imaginary people, imaginary friends, where if some of it was like really good and really nice and stuff you hope from a real person actually, and then some of it was like just horrible abuse. So it's weird. Like, it's kind of like, it was a really weird time. Yeah.
How did your psychosis come about?
Just smoking a lot of weed and being isolated, and then losing my grandpa. So.
Like it's a lot of, just as a reference, like how much weed is a lot of weed? Is it an everyday thing, all day? Like.
Yeah, like every day, all day. Every day, all day. As much as I had, you know? So, yeah, I can't blame it all on weed. I lost my grandpa. I was like isolated for a little while. I was like alone. I didn't have anybody really to talk to. Just in an apartment by myself. I had bed bugs too. That was another stress. You know, it was pretty bad, actually. It's kind of, I'm not surprised I lived through it or anything, but it was pretty crazy.
How did you end up finding housing in Queenston?
I went to the hospital and just told them like what's going on with me. Like I'm homeless. I like, you know, what's going on. I told them what was going on inside my head. And they admitted me into the mental health ward, to the psych ward, for an acute stay. And when you're in there, like some people like go into the hospital with an apartment, and then because they can't pay the rent because they're not outside, because they're locked in there, they'll actually like lose their apartment and stuff. That didn't happen for me, but like that happens for some other people. What happened for me was I didn't have a place, so I went there and kind of just stayed there for accommodation in a way, and they told them, you know, that they medicated me like with antipsychotics for what was going on. And yeah, I basically one of the people there, like one of the social workers, like they'll send you to a group home. They can send you to a group home. And yeah, I just said yeah to them sending me to a group home.
How has that been?
It's okay. You live with a lot of older people. Some people are not nice in there. Some people are pretty mean. Some people are nice though. I haven't had too much problems with it living there, but you know, in the actual building there's like roaches and mice, and there's like a mouse in my room. And there's like some people have bed bugs. So, you know, some of the showers and like bathtubs were like dirty in there, with like covered in this like dust from like some sort of demolition or some sort of project. Yeah, I don't know.
You've been podcasting, or you're into like releasing media and telling stories. Why don't you share a bit about what your passion for that?
Yeah, I started Away TV 2 years ago during when George Floyd got killed. I would post like all the different protests that were happening because of it. I posted the original video of the guy doing that, kneeling on his neck and suffocating him. And yeah, like there's like protests all over the world for that. There's protests in like Germany, Japan. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So I basically just met with basically like what I do is I just post like raw clips, like a lot of cell phone videos of like of like different news events. So it could be a protest, it could be a shooting. I covered a shooting. Both this one in New York where this guy was shooting on the train, and they had like different cell phone videos of like what was going on, and people like, you know, with like blood and stuff. And also another shooting like I just posted like yesterday where that happened in Thailand in a shopping mall, and this Korean streamer, she was streaming her drinking like a coffee or something at Starbucks, and then you hear gunshots and they start running, and then she starts like going like what, and then like starts running too. And yeah, so like any news event I covered. So I did a short podcast about COVID and the vaccine passports and stuff like that. Just more, and that was more informational, like educational, so saying what the government was going to do. I'm not like an anti-masker or anything like that. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I'd also like promote my podcast door to door. I just knock on people's doors and tell them like, "Hey, I'm Xavier. I'm a journalist. Just tell them like my story basically, and just kind of pitch to them the idea."
So give me the elevator pitch. If you were to give like a sentence explanation of your podcast, how would you frame that?
I'd say like, my name's Xavier. I'm a journalist with Away Television. Away Television is a podcast I started 2 years ago. It has 14 episodes. I've interviewed the Taliban, protesters in America during George Floyd, protesters in Hong Kong. And it's all about bringing the voices of the people going through the event and bringing it to light, to the front. I'm basically just knocking on people's doors, like raising awareness for it, raising support for it, and also asking for donations. And then people will like follow me or will give me like $5 or something. And yeah, that's what I've been doing, and it works. It actually kind of works a little pretty well, and you get to know your neighbors and get to know the community. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sweet. You were sharing a story of something that you experienced in the hospital. That I don't know if it was influenced or parallel to some of the videos you were sharing, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something you feel comfortable sharing or not.
What happened to me last?
Just with the way that you were physically treated by
one of the
staff.
Yeah, the security guard who knelt on my neck.
Like what? Like
and he left me with a scar.
Paint a picture. What was going on and happened? How did it unfold?
I found it was just kind of stupid. I was like, like the fire alarm like labels, how they're stuck, like I was like just tearing off the fire alarm label thing, and I was just like walking. I was like mad. I can't remember why I was mad, but I was like, oh, it's a ripoff, and I was just like being weird, and the security guards like pushed me to the ground and were like kneeling on my neck and stepped on my hands. I have a mark on my hand. And yeah, like I don't know, but his knees were on my back too, and it was just like my back hurt for like 2 or 3 days after. It was so bad. But
so you felt that treatment, the way they treated you, was completely unfair, like
yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't. They didn't really treat us too good there. It wasn't the worst, but they didn't treat us too good there. There's a lot of stuff that they can do, like for instance, if your family doctor okays, your family doctor can basically like this happened to a girl I was talking to in there. They basically can say that, hey, I don't feel like you're well, and I don't feel like you can make decisions for yourself, and they can basically get like the police to come to your house and arrest you, like to put you in handcuffs and then bring you to the hospital. So you can basically send someone to the hospital from the psych ward like against their will completely. And some people get confused when that happens to them. They think it's like, that's illegal, right? Like they can't do that is what they think, which in reality they shouldn't be able to do that, but they are allowed to do that. It's wrong for them to do that, but they're allowed to do that. So they'll call the police on like the people on the nurses in the hospital, and the police usually don't go in the hospital. Like they don't even enter in like the ward. They just kind of, yeah, yeah, man. But yeah, that guy was like a short guy too. Some short guy just crawling on my back with his knees. It wasn't too good.
No, and I don't know that we need to include this, but then like you bit him, and then now.
Yeah, and I bit him because because he was hurting me. He was hurting me, so I bit him, and then I got charged with assault. And but right now, like me and CMHA, the Canadian Mental Health, we're doing a thing called mental health diversion, where if I continue to meet with doctors, take my meds, and just work on my mental health, then they will withdraw the charges. Because I was going through psychosis, and I didn't even know what was really going on, so I wasn't in the right frame of mind. And then, on top of that, like, them doing that to me and stuff, like, yeah. But because, like, I don't know, for me, like, when things like that happen, there's a reason. Like, since I've been around, like, I've seen, like, people do stuff for no reason, you know what I mean? And, like, that's what scares me, is, like, people that are just, 1 minute you're good, and then the next minute, like, they're after you or something, Yeah.
One thing that would be interesting like, what is there anything, like, what are you looking forward to in life, like, and like when you're looking into the future, what are things that get you excited, that get you up in the morning?
Well, I'm looking forward to rebuilding my platform. I just like to work on Away TV, my platform, my podcast. I'm excited to interview a couple people. I'm excited to go to Europe again and, make more content. I shot a documentary on Brexit in 2020, February 2020. It was like the first week of Brexit, that the UK has left the European Union. It was the first week of no European Union. And I just like did man on the street interviews. But yeah, like I like making content, I like filming, I like doing stuff like that. I like graphic designing, I'm a graphic designer. I went to Humber for it. And I loved like making like all these different graphics and pictures and art. And yeah, if I could just find a way to get paid doing that or get more money doing that, like I'd be set. But yeah.
You're enrolled in the Toronto Film School. Talk about that.
Yeah, I'm enrolled in Toronto Film School. Toronto Film School, yeah, I enjoy it. I got 90 on my camera exam. I used to get pretty good grades there, and I would film a lot of projects. Like we filmed something in Montreal, a music video. Done a couple projects there, and yeah, like I loved like the equipment room. Like I was like best friends with like a guy named Ryan in the equipment room, and like I would just like go and get like, you can just go and they'll like loan you cameras, and I'll just go get a Canon 80D and just start shooting stuff. And some of it was just to shoot it,
Cool.
It was pretty fun. Editing, I like editing videos. I edit a lot in my spare time.
So are you still enrolled in it, or what? Like, are you still enrolled in the? Is it your hope to finish that, or was it? What was the reason why it went on pause?
Basically just COVID, and I was falling behind. I was working at a dispensary, and they were giving me 12-hour shifts. I was just falling behind, so I'm like, okay, before I fall behind too much, I need to like withdraw from studies, and then resume it. And that's what I did. I still have my school email and everything. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else before we wrap it up while the cameras are rolling? Is there anything else specifically like that is worth mentioning? Like I know you didn't really talk about your relationship with your mom and dad much, other than saying that they kind of split and went separate directions? Do you want to talk more about your relationship with them, or how close you are with them? Or
for a while, I didn't really talk to them, and it wasn't because I didn't want to or they didn't want to talk to me. It was just I just didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't tell them anything that was going on, and once I got into the hospital and I called my mom and I started talking to her, like my life things got better. I wasn't as lonely. My life got better. Yeah, like me and my mom are best friends. We listen to the same music and stuff. We, are interested in the same things. She's also very artsy and stuff. And she's always supported me in what I'm doing. She's a very supportive woman, and very strong and very smart. She graduated university with me. She was 23 when she had me. Still graduated university and stuff. And my dad, he's in China, so I haven't been able to I can't really send him an email. They don't have those things over there. They don't have Gmail, they don't have Instagram or Facebook. So there's an app called WeChat that is really popular in China. It's pretty much it's like a instant messaging. And I downloaded that, but I lost access to the phone number that I used to create the account, so I couldn't get back into the account, and I just haven't spoken with him. But recently, last month, he's in Canada, and he added me on Facebook, on a new Facebook profile for him. And I think I might see him either for my birthday, which is the 30th of October, or I might see him hopefully on Thanksgiving, which is just this weekend coming. I like my dad. He's pretty cool. Sometimes I feel inferior next to him. I kind of wish I was more bigger and stronger like he is. I feel kind of weak next to him sometimes. And, but he doesn't want me to feel like that, I don't think. He's just a cool guy too. He was an air cadet. He did some sort of martial arts. He was into retail for a while. He just he worked at Hugo Boss and had Harry Rosen and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And on my dad's side, I have a lot of family in England that I met. So I got to meet my British family and talk to my I have my cousins Kian and Cavell. They're so sick. One time, cause they were making fun of my accent one time. They're just like, "Hey man, how's it going, man?" They have really. I think I don't know if I still have the WhatsApp messages, but it was so funny. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're cool, man. I miss my family there. I miss my family. I miss my family a lot. Sometimes I feel lonely. But I also have a best friend named Constantine, and he raps and stuff. He makes music, and he's in Europe right now, just building his aesthetic and building his discography and stuff, and building what I'll see a lot is the visual aspect of his work, because music is sound, right? But there needs to be a visual aesthetic. There's a lot of people that have gotten famous more off of their aesthetic even than their music, Young Lean, and ASAP Rocky, Tyler the Creator. They all had visual. There's a visual aesthetic, the clothes. There's clothes, visual aesthetic pictures, as well as the videos and music to kind of create that culture.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I would be interested to hear you articulate the difference between a activist versus an anarchist. We were chatting the other day about how you're an anarchist, and
Yeah.
and it was really fascinating, and would love to hear you talk about that.
Activist versus anarchist. Well, that's the thing. I don't know. I want to say like there isn't a difference, but there is a difference. There's people who are, just follow like, anarchist ideology, like through like reading people like um, Peter Kropotkin, Bakunin. Obviously, you can read Marx and Engels, and stuff. It's like there's a certain amount of like people like Noam Chomsky is really good for that sort of thing too. Yeah, like it's definitely a different way of seeing the world, and I felt like I was seeing the world for the first time when I really started like getting into it. I find like, but to answer your question, I find the difference between an activist and an anarchist is like anarchists are willing to do more for like more and go farther, I think, than a lot of activists are. A lot of activists, they'll tweet hashtags or they'll go to protests, stage actions like that. But anarchists are about like direct action. So like we actually fight the police. Like the police will be throwing tear gas, and then anarchists will be throwing like rocks or Molotov cocktails or something. So they actually fight the police. They'll do things like anarchists are famous for bombing stuff. So like they'll bomb police stations, like do things called direct action, which basically it's exactly how it sounds. It's a direct act against whatever it is that I guess the illegitimate authority of the state, illegitimate authority of police officers, illegitimate authority of the church, illegitimate authority of a lot of things. And that's basically what anarchists are taking on. Now, I believe in God and stuff, so that's a little, but I think a lot of anarchists do. I don't think that's like, I think that's different.
So when you say you believe in God, do you mean like that like the value of anarchy might not align with your views?
There's some people that are very anti-God, are very like anti-Christian, and because of the damage that the like, specifically the Catholic and Protestant Church, like Anglican, sorry, like Church of England, like because like the damage that they've done to different societies, different native groups, different minorities, LGBT people and stuff. There's a lot of people that are like violently, like not violently, but like are vehemently, firmly, I'll say firmly, or like firmly against like any sort of religion or anything like that. But there's a lot of people that are, I guess, are spiritual and don't necessarily believe in God as like it's told to them, but still believe in a God. So.
But along the same lines, as we were chatting the other day about like different actions, and you had made a comment about like a lot of like civil rights movements were not peaceful.
Yeah,
right.
A lot of them were not peaceful. There was a lot of rioting and a lot of looting and burning and a lot of like fires, lighting fires, like arson. Fighting the police and stuff like that. A lot of civil rights protests were not peaceful. Like the police would hose them down. They'd have dogs bite them. They'd shoot at them. Like nowadays, it's like they use tear gas. They didn't have tear gas in the 70s and 60s, so they just like sometimes I think they actually like shoot live rounds. Well, actually, that was more in the early 1900s, like 1920s. Like they would shoot live rounds at like union protesters and stuff. I don't think they ever shot live rounds at like black people during the civil rights movement, but
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you think there's one that's like? Do you think it's possible to make change with peace? Like, 'cause
Oh,
I
it's
know.
absolutely possible. And that's the preferred. That's what you want. You don't want to have to blow up light a police precinct on fire because they killed another person who shouldn't have been killed, or because the Minneapolis police precinct, people lit that on fire after George Floyd, after what they saw. So I think I don't know. To me, like, it's on the grand scheme of things, it's like somebody punches you as a joke, and then you punch them hard and like seriously, like to let them know like don't do that. That's kind of like how I kind of see it, because if you don't do anything, then you run the risk. There's like oppressive regimes all around the world. Like you have the Uyghurs in China, or sorry, Uyghurs in China. And just like nobody wants to become part of Tamils in Sri Lanka. Nobody wants to become part of like an oppressed like ethnic group. That's nobody wants to be like that. Like Jews in Nazi Germany, and black people definitely have some of that going on. There's what messes with me. And we were talking about this earlier, like the pseudoscience behind a lot of racism. It's like a lot of anthropology. Yeah, like it's. This pseudoscience, a lot of anthropology. It justifying a lot of the racism and stuff, saying like, oh well, black and Latinos score lower on IQ tests, so like basically saying like it kind of sucks, but they're pretty dumb. Like it's like I've had a person say that to me, because they said like let's debate race and IQ, and I'm like, race and IQ, an IQ test is written like with like a Judeo-Christian Anglo-Saxon like world view and stuff. It's not gonna like basically. It was so weird because in the United States, like black people and white people speak different. Like they have different accents and different like ways of like communicating. So like that, there's like questions on like an IQ test or an SAT or something that may not make sense to to a black person reading it, just because of the way it's worded. So like there's a lot of variables involved that mean that like race and IQ is not something you can really debate. And then when we go back to the concept of race at all, knowing that it was invented primarily founded by what was his name again, Blumenbach or something, the German English anthropologist. That was the first guy to categorize different races and differences and similarities, and first guy that kind of invents those races, their names and everything. He came up with the names, everything. So once you know that, it kind of just shows that things like race are fake. You know what I mean? And it's like a fake thing that's used to categorize the world and to set up a global hierarchy where white people are at the top of that global hierarchy, and black people are at the absolute bottom of that racial hierarchy and everything.
Are there any ways that you have that you in an ongoing way kind of flex your anarchy muscles?
Flex my anarchy muscles? Yeah, I do actually. I basically, a lot of the stuff I post is it's anti-authoritarian stuff. I've had a couple podcast episodes and everything. I used to be part of a socialist reading group called Fight Back, and it was based out of Ryerson University. We go to protests and stuff like that. I'd say get organized, set up parallel structures to the ones that you see in government. So set up ways that people can solve problems property crimes and stuff like that without police, like through mediation. Try to find like just like ways to counter the state in that, because once the state, like if the state falls and the state becomes illegitimate, which it kind of is right now, it's good to have like just like get fit, just prepare for like a lot of instability. I'd say like definitely like prepare for a lot of instability that's already starting to happen, but it's going to be really bad when like because like we have climate change, we have like police brutality, we have different wars going on. There's like a whole war going on, and also like in the case because the climate change, people don't think climate change, but that means like more natural disasters and stuff like that. That's what that translates into directly: more natural disasters and unpredictable weather patterns and stuff. Really strong hurricanes. So, I think that, I'm not like, I don't believe it's like the last days and that like, Jesus is going to come back like in 30 years or something. But I'm definitely, and I'm not the only person seeing this. I'm definitely seeing a decline in like capitalism and in capitalist societies around the world. And they're not able to meet some of the demands that are quite crucial, and they may fall because of that. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for asking me.
No problem.
I'm Xavier, and this is my Queenston story.